Good morning. We're going to do the Superpower Parent series. This is part 3 and focusing on enrichment and partnership. We will also do part 4, which will talk about celebrating and equipping parents. We'll do both sessions today. Just to get started, if you'll tell me your name and some highlights, what value you bring to the table. I'd love to hear about that in the chat. Also, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Amanda Crecelius, and I'm a PATINS specialist. My specialty areas are Google Chrome, accessibility, and integration. I also do accessible educational material and assistive technology for English language learners. In addition to that, specific learning differences and transitions at a secondary level. You have here my contact information, so my email address and my Twitter handle, also my phone number if you need to contact me for any reason, if you're interested in setting up a training or doing a consult on any of these areas, please contact me if you have any questions or need any assistance. A little bit about PATINS. PATINS stands for Promoting Achievement Through Technology and Instruction for All Students. And that is not just focused on giving tools of technology and leaving you with those tools to work with and figure out by yourself, but also focusing on how to use those tools in the classroom, teach you how to help students use those tools, and also giving you instructional strategies for how to include all students. ICAM is part of our organization as well, and so you can connect to ICAM to get those accessible materials. Some of the services that are at no cost to Indiana Public Schools are provided here. You can see that we have our conferences, statewide conferences, we have trainings and virtual office hours. We also offer the Aim for Achievement grant. We have an assistive technology lending library, which I'll talk a little bit more about when I'm in the second session. And as I mentioned before, the Indiana Center for Accessible Materials, ICAM. We do an e-newsletter that has lots of tips and gives highlights about some of our upcoming trainings. We have a blog from each of our specialists that contribute to that blog, giving you a personal look into their life and also connecting to some of the specialty areas that we focus on. On Tuesday evenings, we have a Twitter chat that you can participate in. So if you use that hashtag PATINS ICAM, you can find all the previous Twitter chats that we've had and all the things that are connected to the PATINS ICAM hashtag. We also have a refurbished technology program. We have PATINS TV tutorial videos, which you can watch in your leisure time, being able to get up to speed on some new technology tools that you can incorporate into your classroom. And we have assistive educational material, assistive technology, and a universal design for learning, technological assistance, and support provided by all of the PATINS specialists. So please reach out to us on PATINSproject.org to find out more about these services. About the Superpower Parents series, this is focused on, these are 45-minute sessions, and they're focused on a few aspects of the tools that I'm going to be talking about, or strategies that I'm going to be talking about. Many of these tools that I might mention have a lot of other uses. This is focused on teachers using this with ELLs parents and teacher teaching parent use. So that's the focus of these sessions. Some important tools from the first and second session that I'll go over just briefly, because these are the base of communication tools for setting up what we might be talking about in this session. One of those tools is Microsoft Translator. Microsoft Translator is available to work on any platform. You don't have to have a Microsoft account, although if you do have a Microsoft account, you have a lot more options for using Microsoft Translator. If you don't, you can use it in just setting up a conversation 101, and you can find that looking up Microsoft Translator online. Without downloading an app, you can just connect to it on the computer. So that's a really great option to set up a conversation with your parents that way. You can also use Google Translate extension. And when you use the Google Translate extension, I have it up here. When you use that, it can translate the entire page into a language that might be more familiar with one of the parents that you're working with. And in addition to that, if a parent might have some difficulties reading in their own language, that Microsoft Translator is very compatible with extensions like Read Aloud, which will read that in that same language aloud. Also, Natural Reader use that extension to read those pages that have been translated in Google Translate aloud to benefit parents that might have difficulty reading even in their home language. Another option that you have is creating a YouTube channel. When you create a YouTube channel, which is free, you can have the option when you upload any of your videos that you've created on Loom or Screencastify or any of the other programs that you use, QuickTime, you can upload those to YouTube, correct the auto captions that it creates, and then show your parents how to, once that has corrected captions, how they can click on the settings and auto translate. So these are all tools that are important for communication, setting up that communication and being able to provide that for parents so that they have a way to receive information from you and from the school, and also to communicate back. One of the big things that I wanted to remind you of is that it's really important to show and tell parents how to use programs, how to what curriculum you're doing, and the platforms that you're using. So going back to those tools that I just mentioned, making sure that you're using and incorporating, and also demonstrating the use of those tools is going to be helpful for parents, just in case any time that you're communicating something, if whatever is being said is misunderstood or not translated correctly, that visual component can correct any of those mistranslations or miscommunications. Showing examples and demonstrating clearly how parents can participate in the classroom is really important, and also giving them something to reference and help in the future. So that's going to piggyback on that idea of creating videos in YouTube and making sure that they can see them later so that they can come back to something that have questions later. A fun way to get your parents to be engaged in learning English with their child at home and kind of building up that relationship with the child, I am throwing out two apps for English learning, Duolingo and Busuu, and these are really great apps that you could challenge the students to work with their parents, kind of a duel that they're having in building up those English skills. And instead of saying, we're separating learning English from home and that learning English is going to happen at school or with school time, you can incorporate that into the home life as saying that we love that you speak a language at home and it's great that you're doing that. We want to build this other language, and you can do that as a team with your parent. You guys can work on these apps together. You can kind of check each other where you're at. So I just think this is a fun way to build up that skill at home, not only with the student, but also involving their parent. Another way that you can build up this, and I'm suggesting using communication building games, because they can either be played in English or in the home language. And why I say in the home language is that if you build up communication skills in the language that's spoken at home, not only do you build better relationships with the student and the parent and incorporate them in education, but you're also building up the base of communication skills for the students so that they can, when they are learning a new language, they can use those as building blocks for the new language that they're learning, which in this case is English. So here are just some suggestion games. If you already have these, some of these games require nothing more than a sheet of paper. So you can see Hangman here, obviously it's just a sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil. Pictionary is the same way. You could also incorporate games like Scrabble, Categories, or Taboo. All of these are communication games, and all of these games could be potentially played in the home language and then also in English at school, or just as an additional thing at home. The big thing too is that now that we're in this state where we're doing a lot of stuff at home, and a lot of parents are trying to look for ways to get, in my own personal experience, is trying to look for ways that I can get my child away from the computer and to still be doing school type activities. So one of the ways that you can do that is having an assignment called a walk and talk. You can give parents talking points. I have some suggestions up here, but if you have a specific topic that you're focused on, you can have those talking points as part of the suggestions. Again, you want to piggyback on those tools that we talked about before, providing these walk and talk talking points in the home language so that the parent can see them and understand that it's okay for you to walk and talk and to do these content focuses in the home language. It doesn't necessarily have to be in English. And so providing this as a point or a part of your assignment, it's building those relationships between students and parents, and also building a relationship between parent and school. And so providing this either as an opportunity through an assignment, or even maybe having a school-wide walk and talk night. Hey, this Friday, everybody, we're gonna all go on a walk and talk night, encouraging them to take selfies and upload them to social media to talk about how they're supporting the school, how they're connecting to the school. And again, everything is encouraged in their home language, as well as an opportunity for them to practice English. Another thing to incorporate in your classroom or in your school is family projects. And again, this is pulling parents in, inviting them in to the classroom, inviting them into the classroom through assignments, to sit down and design a family tree, to create a photo collage with your family, to make a family recipe cookbook, to design and cook weekly meals together, to paint, remodel the house, to interview parents. There are so many opportunities for us to involve parents and incorporate them in. And again, this is not language specific. So being able to pull parents in and having them involved in education is going to bring better support, giving them more comfort with working with the school, supporting the school, and feeling like they're part of that. Another thing that could be done is a walkthrough gallery time. So this could provide opportunities for parents to share what they have been doing through pictures or videos. Again, remembering that some of us are not having schools in a physical classroom. And so we're missing a lot of the stuff that we would be experiencing in the classroom. So inviting parents to be able to share those things on some kind of a platform. I, again, would also encourage the use of home language so that they feel too shy to share in English. Maybe they don't feel comfortable sharing in English. That say that we can use these translation tools that we have here to translate things in English, but I would also leave the home language there so that others can read that home language and put the translation below it. Just a note for this is make sure that if you are doing this, that you're displaying this on a private class page in the classroom, or have a designated day to show the class. Just be careful with sharing and making sure that you get permission and sharing wisely on a safe site for all that are participating. Another way to encourage parent involvement and partnership is through advocating and organizing EL parent support groups. So one of the things that isn't very common, but I think is great for cultural reasons, comfort reasons, is to offer group parent-teacher conferences. So having parents come in together in a group and kind of using each other as a base for having these conferences is a great way to build a community, to build comfort, and to invite parents into a safe space for them. Having a parent resource center that connects parents with a supportive classroom, kind of that Bitmoji classroom style might be a fun idea. The reason why I use this is that, as you can see here, one of our other specialists, Jenna Fallbush, has actually created a Bitmoji classroom, and I like her Bitmoji classroom. She actually has a whole series about how to make a Bitmoji classroom accessible. So if you want to check that out, I highly suggest that you do. But in this one, you can see that they're all just images. And for a parent resource center, if you're connecting to EL parents, the images are helpful to make connections to things that words might not be easily understood. And so knowing that I can check out, the schedule or time under the clock, I can look for resource or materials here. Maybe we have an art class. So you have ideas about how you can connect. You can also do that just with the community too. And another thing that I have seen this quite a bit, but if your school doesn't already have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, or Twitter handle, or something that parents can connect through social media, I highly encourage that you do that. I even encourage that if you do have a social media page, that you might even want to do an offshoot with specific languages. And that's not to separate, but it's to build a community within that language so that people feel more comfortable, or having one that is a joint community, but encouraging people to use the translation options on Facebook to be able to communicate in their home language and have that translated into English so that everybody can have access and be included in that social media connection. Another way to get parents involved is through polling, and you can do polling, and I've done this before, and I'm going to show you. So you can create a poll. I've created a really simple poll. And the great thing about this is that this is Survey Hero. A lot of the polling also, you can test them out to see if they work, but this one in particular works with Google Translate. So if I wanted to translate this whole page, I could do that. I'm going to choose to translate this into Spanish. And as you can see that this has been translated into Spanish, I can make my choices. And that information can go back and it will show up in the original language once you get the feedback. So that's a really great way to get some information from the parents and communicating in their home language, not just having 2 or 3 versions of the top languages that are spoken outside of your classroom, but also having a variety of languages as options for that to be translated. This also works with that read aloud. So if that needed to be read out loud to the parents, they could also do that. Another way is through exchanging emails through the Gmail translator. So if you're in Gmail and you click the arrow button down on the side of a message, the drop-down box will come up and it will have this translate message. You can choose what language you would like for that to be translated in, so that can create a communication opening for you and a parent, telling the parent, please respond to this message, translate this message into your language, respond to it in the language that you feel more comfortable with, and I can translate it to English for me. So encourage them to do that so that they can open up those doors to communication with you. Another way to get parents involved is inviting parents as presenters. And I would encourage you to do this in a panel first. So having parents come, a couple of parents come either virtually or in person when we have that opportunity, but to come in groups. It encourages them to take the heat off of them, to have a spotlight just exclusively on them, but to have a group of parents coming in at the same time so that they can share their story. And that is the encouragement, is that they're sharing their story. They're also making content connections, not just coming in to share about culture or tradition. So if you're talking about shopping in your classroom, then have a parent come in and talk about shopping. They don't have to necessarily talk about their culture or traditions, although those are welcome things, but don't make them just come in or invite them just in to talk about those things, but also be involved in the curriculum all the time. And encouraging them to make those connections and to be coming in and talking about things just like any parent. Another great thing to do when we're in this virtual setting is to try to make community connections. And one of the ways you can do this, you can use Jamboard. That's what I've used as platform right here. Another kind of cheat for Jamboard is to do a Google Classroom, and Google Slide. You can do the same thing on a Google Slide, is include visuals, so pictures, some printed description, and a QR code that would take them to that information. So you can have here's a parent community connections. That could have a QR code here that could take them to the Facebook page so that they could join the Facebook page. You could have one for the local library and have a QR code. These QR codes are free to generate through QR Generator and many other sites, but you can create these QR codes and just inform parents that if they hold up their phone over the QR code as if they're taking a picture, not actually taking a picture, it should take them directly to that site. But giving them some information, maybe even listing here in these sticky notes what this is so they can look it up themselves, that would also be helpful. But I suggest that you have this somewhere in your school site, even in your classroom site, so that parents are coming to your school to find out how they can connect to the community. This is kind of being a hub of where they can find information. And if you make this the hub, parents are more likely to be involved to check out things that you're doing in your classroom, because you could even slip something in here from the school and what the school might be doing as well. Why is all this stuff important? I wrote a blog on September 17th, and in that blog, I used some research from our most recent census, and it talked about there being in the state of Indiana, 195,000 people who identified they do not speak English well. And those people, or those voices, 195,000 are not being heard. They're not being invited to participate in conversations. They're not being invited to participate in the community. And sometimes they're not invited to be in the lives of their children and grandchildren. And I think that this is a really important point, that let's make an effort to make sure that that invitation is there, because it's not only the language that's not shared, but it's also the culture, the tradition, and the community connections. And we want those to be involved in our community, especially for school. So we're setting an example for our entire community, making sure that each parent feels like they're involved in our in the conversations that we're having. I'm going to go ahead and start on the fourth series of this session as well, or this series, so that you can also get an idea of what this series involves. So the fourth part is also the last part, and it's to celebrate and equip ELLs parents, or English language learners parents, into the process of education. So I've already gone over a couple of things. I'm going to kind of skip through them and go to ways to get parents to celebrate parents. And one of the ways that I think that sometimes we think it's unsaid and that it's not really necessary to talk about, but just saying thank you. And I think that right now, as parents are taking on a lot more responsibility than they've ever had in the education of their children through remote learning, sometimes battling work, home, and education is really just overwhelming for a lot of parents. And I think that whatever effort they're making, a thank you is always appreciated. And a thank you can link them again to that classroom. So I would again suggest using Microsoft Translator or Google Translate extension, even the options of the Gmail translation that you can use to be able to say weekly or bi-weekly, through calls, through connections, through emails, through text, just saying thank you, not talking about issues, not talking about something that they need to do, just to say thank you, and making that a part of your weekly things that you do. Yes, I'm trying to connect with parents, and I want to be able to connect with our EL parents in their own language, and I have some tools that I can use to do that. How to listen. Here are some suggestions. If you do get messages from parents that are confused, parents that are frustrated, parents that are overwhelmed, here are just some suggestions on how to connect to those. And in those suggestions, it's just saying, I hear what you're saying, I understand what you're saying, and here's what we can do together. And then ending that message with, thanks for working with me. Again, using that translate message box and encouraging parents to use that can really help get that message out, so that they can feel like they're being heard, and be connected to the classroom. Encouraging students to say thank you to parents. So, and to be able to create that in their own language, they can do that through any of these platforms that we've talked about before. So Loom, Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, or your device recorder like QuickTime, encouraging students to create a video in their home language if possible. And they could, if they're not able to do that in their home language, to be able to use that YouTube channel to upload that video, put the auto captions on, or correct the auto captions, and show the parent how to auto translate that. That's going to be a really significant thing for the parents to hear their own child say thank you. And if you've incorporated in that classroom, I think it makes it a meaningful thing, knowing that that came from the teacher, came from the school, and is something that the student has done for themselves. Another way to encourage parents to celebrate what parents have been doing at home is to create a simple template and allow parents to curate pictures and add text in their own language to a slideshow. And you can do this by using an add-on called Slides Translator. It does allow you to translate things in the slide. And this is a really great way for parents to be able to participate in cultivating or curating a portfolio of their child's work, what they've seen them do at home, to be involved in that process, especially if they're younger students, to be involved in that process and to be able to do it in their own language. So that's an option for creating those portfolios to celebrate the work at home. Another great way is to create a digital bulletin board. So this is very similar to the community board. This is for them showing a platform where they can show the work. Again, I use Jamboard to do this. And Jamboard, of course, you can share access to that, so they could upload one photo that they took of their child maybe at home with a project that they did, and then using the QR codes so they can link maybe back to those portfolios that you created, or link directly to a longer text project or whatever that they're linking to, so that the parent can be involved in sharing their pride for their child and the work that they've done at home. Another thing is, again, to create that Bitmoji classroom, but kind of a Bitmoji home, just to celebrate the parents and say thank you for all the stuff that you've done, all the stuff that I see you doing at home, just making sure that they know that you see them and you see the effort that they've put in and you appreciate it. So now we're getting into some of that equipping. So this is equipping your classroom and also equipping parents at home that are working with students who are EL English language learners, and helping them to have a bank of resources to use at home. Some of these are Read to Me and audiobooks, in particular for younger students, but I think that there are a lot of options for older students too. Epic allows for educators to have a free account for Epic, and they can assign books to students. Epic has 3 options for reading. They have a Read to Me, which highlights the words as it's being read. They actually have 4 features. They have an audiobooks that can be read out loud to them. And then they also have books that can be read online, so students can have control and be reading those books quietly to themselves. The other option that they have is they offer books in English, Spanish, French, and I believe German. They might have additional languages that are coming up, but those are some of the languages they offer some of their books also in those languages. Another option is through your local library. Some local libraries have a platform. In particular, here in Indianapolis, in the Indianapolis Public Library, they have Libby. You might have another form of this, Overdrive, or some other platform that is connected to the library, and they also offer audiobooks. Sometimes they offer them different languages. In particular, Spanish is one that is often offered, but other languages also can be found, and those are also those audiobooks that students can listen to, or books that they can be able to read online. Another resource is the Storyline online, and this actually has famous people reading different types of books. So students might be able to recognize somebody, an author that they see, or who's reading this book that might be somebody that they recognize, and connect to them, trying to find somebody that might be. And so you have these authors that are reading these books aloud. The students can connect with them. The other great thing about this is that these books are, because they're on YouTube, they already have those closed captions. So you can use our feature that we had before, is using the closed captions as subtitles. So this can be auto-translated into all of these language options. So those auto translations will happen because you already have the closed captions. So that's a really great resource, a great way for you to connect to the story. Another one that I really like, is a new one for me, is Unite for Literacy. And Unite for Literacy is very similar. It has a variety of books available. It also has books available in not only to be read aloud, so you can hear this one in English.
It's Fall by Holly Hartman.
Also has available ASL, which I like. And if you'll see here, I think I counted the other day that there are probably 60 language options that you could choose from and have that book read aloud in that language. So I really love that option, and allows the students to turn the pages themselves and to read the book to build those literacy skills in their home language and also in English. So those are some options: Read to Me and audiobooks. Another option for your library, I would encourage you to request that your library purchase some of these books. If you are in the Indianapolis area and you have a library card at the Indianapolis Public Library, they have several of these books. These are called Vox books, and Vox books have a little device connected to an actual book. And this device, you turn it on, you push play, you can control the volume, you can use headphones on it. It will read the book and as it reads the book, it makes a little sound for when you should turn the page. This is very great for that tactile incorporation of an actual physical book, listening to it. Some of them are provided in English and Spanish together. Some of them are just in Spanish, some of them are just in English. You can request these books. I think that's a really great option. Look up Vox books, and I know that they are available at Indianapolis Public Library, and I hope that they're available in your area at your public library. If not, I encourage you to request some of them for your school library as an option for students. Another tool that students can either purchase or make themselves is a whisper or cell phone. This is a really great tool for working on phoneme and pronunciation. So students with dyslexia or English language learners can really benefit from having these. I suggest two different types. One is this one that you can purchase. You can purchase on Amazon. I think it's approximately probably less than $20, but it looks kind of like a headset. The reason why I suggest this one is kind of for older students that might be working on their language skills, because it's a little, one, it's bigger, and the second reason is that it's a little bit more discreet if students feel embarrassed by being called out or using this device if they're in school. At home, they could use it while they're reading to hear those phoneme pronunciation. It makes an echo sound from the mouth to the ears, so you can really amplify your voice and hear the pronunciation of words. You can compare that to one of those audiobooks that you're reading, or you can compare it to a book that was read out loud to you, and just be practicing those sounds. You could do this at home also, so you might want to make this a project for your class to make these. And this is great for younger kids, all of them, to be able to have one of these little cell phones. My daughter she's in kindergarten and she uses it. It's just two elbow pieces and a small PVC piece to go in. So you can pick up these pieces. I think that I probably spent, I want to say $4 maybe on all of this to create a cell phone. You can put tape on it and stickers. They can decorate it, they can paint it. So it could be a project that you guys do and incorporate that into their reading. So when you assign reading, you could say, okay, everyone's going to read at home tonight with your cell phone. And so you'll hold your cell phone up as you're reading to hear yourself pronounce the words that you heard me read in class, or we'll watch a video, one of those books read aloud, and then you're going to read it yourself and you can hear yourself pronounce those words. This is a really great tool to use at home. Another tool that you can purchase, or you could also check out of our lending library, which I'll talk to you in a little bit, is called the C-Pen reader. So I'll let you see what it does.
Slowly over the words.
And the text reader reads that back to me. So you can see that the C-Pen will highlight the word, it will read it back to you. It also has within the C-Pen a dictionary. It has some translating to, in particular, Spanish definitions. It is able to record answers. You can store all of the information onto the C-Pen connected to a computer and be able to send those files to a teacher if necessary. If you'd like to try out this is a really great option, again, for English language learners and also students that have dyslexia. These are some tools that help with those reading skills to hear words read out loud. You can just select certain words. You don't have to read the whole phrase, or it could read the whole phrase to you. So that's a really great option. You can find this at our lending library. Again, if you wanted to use the feature on your phone, like you're taking a picture, hover it over this QR code, it should take you to our lending library where you can find out, where you can check these things out. I'm going to let Daniel tell you a little bit about our lending library.
Try out some new technology, borrow an iPad, word prediction software, a voice output device, text-to-speech or speech-to-text tools. PATINS has an extensive lending library of assistive technology, hardware, and software that is loaned to schools for 6